I'm Mr. Brussman here at Coon Rapids High School. We're doing a little bit of review after our demonstrations with the different machines. We're here at the table saw. We actually have the SawStop table saws. We've got a fence block here that we need to be using for our first project. So we're going to do a little bit of review on the machine, talk about how to use this fence block so that we're not having mistakes. We're also, if you missed part of the demonstration, have some questions, hopefully this will be able to help you with that. Okay? So first of all, first thing that I need to do is we have our board here with a jointed edge, cut to 15.5-inch length, rough cut length that we need for our project here. Okay. First thing that we need to do is set the blade height. So I will lift the guard here. I can see the blade height. I want to adjust it so that I've got about an 1/8 inch, and we're actually pretty good here. About an 1/8 inch above. If you have multiple boards, find your tallest board, adjust it so that it's tall enough for that largest board. Now, with the fence block here that we have made, the plan in the manual for this block to make for the saw has it being 5.5 inches wide. I made mine to 6 for easier math, where I can still use the fence with using this block. Okay? So we have this clamped on. And the way that this works is that the fence block is lower and allowing the push block here to pass underneath parts of the guard and push our piece through the saw. The push block here rides on top of the fence block here up against the fence piece here. Our board sits right in here, basically at the same measurement, and we have the notch or catch for our workpiece as we go through, and we can pass it all the way through. So this is becoming the extension of our hands. Now, if this is 6 inches and I need an 1.25 inch piece, I'm going to set my fence at 7.25. Alright, so I set it at 7.25. We have the fence locked in place. Now, I will start out with my hands, and I simply have this easy reach ready to go. Okay? Now, when we turn the switch on, the saw will start. I will go ahead and start feeding in with my hands. My left hand, I will have the board up against the fence. I'm taking my fingers, pushing up against the fence with my thumb over the top. My thumb is keeping it down against the table so that the board does not ride up and over the top of the saw blade. My fingers are keeping it tight up against the fence. And this part of my fence block is now my fence that the board actually rides up against. Okay? So it has kind of extended this out for me, is basically what it has done. Now, as I'm feeding through, when I go to reach for this to prevent a kickback from the board coming out of the machine, I'm going to take my thumb, loop my thumb in behind, and take my forefinger, at least one finger, preferably 2 fingers, and put over the top of the board to prevent it from rising up and over and preventing that kickback. My pinky finger and small finger there are also keeping it tight against the fence, stabilizing the board as I take my right hand and reach for the push stick. And I will be able to take the push stick or push block and place it and come in behind and take over as I begin to feed through. I do not have my left hand go past the beginning of the blade insert or where the guard meets the table. So as the end of the board passes, this hand will then be removed. Okay? So here we go. We will turn the saw on and do this operation. Okay? Take the glass guard down. I begin to start. Go ahead and feed in. Feed in. I get my push block. I continue to feed. My hand comes off. Feed all the way through. Okay? I am now done. I do not have another board to pass through. So I will turn the saw off and wait for it to come to a complete stop. Once it has come to a complete stop, I can now walk around to the back. I can pull my strap piece out from the back side, and we have our finished piece ready for a glue up in the project, okay? And we'll have to repeat it. Now, if you have multiple pieces, you can feed one through after another, and it will push the scrap piece clear, okay? If I have a large piece that can be run through again, I can carefully reach for it by taking my hand around, behind, off the end, thumb parallel, come down on the board. I go back into the side to disengage the kickback fingers here. Once I get it clear, now I can bring it around. We do not reach in alongside the blade. We do not go directly behind the blade or directly over the top. And we only do that if we are going to run that board through again. If we have multiple boards, pass another board through, it will push it clear. If you are completely done like I was, I turned it off. Safest is always turn it off. Okay, followed by pass another board through. The most dangerous operation is reaching for that piece, and we only do that if it is large enough to be passed through. The blade insert should not be exposed, meaning that the board is clearly much larger, keeping our hand well away from it, and we have to do it carefully. Okay? We do not want to, when we are doing that, tip the piece like this into the blade, as that can cause the blade to come in contact, lifting the piece and kicking it towards our face. Not what we want. Okay? The minimum board length needs to be 12 inches. We have 15.5 on this piece, so we're certainly fine to do. Okay? If you have further questions, see your instructor. We can cut through whole knots. They need to be in the forward half of the board. Loose knots are removed. Again, need to be in the forward half of the board. Cracks, we do not want to have between the fence and blade. They can be on this side of the blade if they are in the board, but they cannot be between the fence and the blade. All right? We do not cut round wood. We will talk again for the second project that we do about using your hand and not using the push stick, as we will be working with larger pieces on the second project here. But if we're over 5 inches in width, it is safe to use the hand to pass through, and I can basically slide through like this using the fence, keeping a finger or two up on the fence so that my hand is close to it. 4-inch safety margin is what we have. We need at least 1 inch to hang on to the board. Okay? When you are done, clear your scraps, lower the blade below the table. So since I am done, I'll lower the blade here and clean up the area so that it's ready for the next person. Thank you.